Are we live? Christine, tell us when we're live.
Oh my god. It's not
so
loading.
much
This is why I love when we go live, because then we talk about
You never
whether or
know
not
what's
we're
going to
live.
happen when there's going to be...
Every time.
Are we live, Will?
Somewhere.
We're live.
We're live somewhere. Woo!
We are live.
We made it.
On the breakdown. Are we
We're
live,
live.
Christine?
We are live.
We are live. We are live on the breakdown. This is the weekly broadcast from Bunker Labs headquarters here in 1871 in the Merchandise Mart in downtown Chicago. Welcome to our weekly live show where we talk about entrepreneurship and starting businesses and ideas and innovation and current events and sometimes nothing at all. So
About going live.
About going live. So welcome to the show, everybody, and thank you for tuning in if you're tuning in. We're very excited to have two very special guests with us today. We've got a very big deal, the executive director of Team RWB. Yeah, a very big deal. JJ Pinter, and a very good friend. So JJ, welcome to the breakdown.
Hey guys, I'm super excited to be here. Can't wait, and thanks for having me.
Yes, awesome. And where are you right now, JJ?
A big deal. That makes. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, at my home office. I just got back. I was on the West Coast, kicking off the Old Glory Relay all last week, and back home for a couple weeks and trying to get caught up.
That's awesome. So the relay is a major event that Team RWB does across the country.
Yeah, every year, September 11th, we start on the West Coast. 60 days, we move a flag 5 foot to the East Coast. So we started in Seattle, September 11th. We've gone about 700 miles. We're in California. We're coming straight down the West Coast and across the southern part of the United States. So yeah, it's a major event.
Wow. Major event. It's awesome. And Team RWB, major organization. How many members do you guys have? Just tell everyone that may not be familiar with Team RWB.
Yeah, we're at about 125,000 members. We're in about 225 cities around the country now. So yeah, we're getting to be pretty sizable these days.
It's major. It's
Do
awesome.
they need coffee?
Yeah, and you guys need coffee. We'll talk about that. All right, so over here we've got a graduate of the Bunker Lab. Not a graduate. Once you're a member, you're always a member, a part of the community. So Alberto Boleres, founder of 606 Roasters.
Correct. Yeah, I founded it in 2011. I'm an 88 Mike. I was an 88 Mike in the Army. I'm a full-time student at DePaul, and I do volunteer work with at-risk youth.
At-risk youth.
I'm
Yeah,
nervous.
No, don't be nervous. Don't be
Did
nervous.
better this first line.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's intimidating being live, but that's a big part of what we teach, right?
For sure.
It's being nervous.
Go out on a branch.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel wrong, it's probably not right.
I'm probably not trying.
Probably not trying
Did
to
I say that right?
So, Alberto, we got to talk about the coffee. Tell us about the coffee.
So I actually came up with the idea when I was serving in Iraq. There was a chain of coffee shops called Green Bean Coffee that were at least in Iraq. I'm not sure if Afghanistan. So one day, while I was waiting in the heat, I was just like, I got to open a coffee shop because I'm waiting in 120-degree weather for a coffee. So when I came back, I just started researching it, and a few years later, I finally traveled to Guatemala, and I decided I have to get the coffee here first, and then we'll think about the coffee shop. So I've been roasting coffee for about 5 years, and I recently just launched a private label for Chicago veterans, which is a big non-for-profit
Awesome.
here in Chicago, because I told them you can't, as a non-for-profit, rely on donations. So why don't we try to generate some income for you through coffee, so when people make a purchase, they feel proud about.
Yeah.
So some ideas I got from Bunker Labs.
Dude, I know an organization that's got 125,000 members that drink coffee. Maybe they want to buy some 606 Roasters. No, that's awesome. How's that working?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm personally a coffee drinker, so yeah.
We'll be in contact.
Yeah, this is good coffee. It smells good.
Thank you.
And tell everyone about your family legacy with coffee, because I think that's kind of interesting.
So my uncle, he introduced me to one of the most famous coffee farms in the world. It's actually El Enjerto. So that's who I first started working with. I really wasn't too familiar with the coffee industry like I thought. So after 2 years, I kind of branched off with one of their family members, and we started our own brand. But the problem was I kept helping out other brands. So that's why last year I decided just to branch off on my own and do my own label, not represent other companies, instead represent my own, because everyone was buying from me, not from the farms or whatever. it's me who they're buying from. So
Yeah.
it's the relationship that I've built. So I decided to branch off, and we've been just trying to get new customers. With the help of Bunker Labs, we're hopefully getting into the Hilton group. So
Yeah. That's
So
that's a big opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Trying to source it to a
but
hotel.
baby steps, because you don't want to like dive into something and not be able, and then fall flat on your face and fail, because you can also fail from
You got to be able to deliver.
If
Yeah.
you can't expand either, like. So, and I'm a one-man operation, so I mean, I do the marketing, I do the roasting, I do the packaging, the sales. So yeah,
No small feat.
entrepreneur, right? That's how everyone
It's
starts.
entrepreneur, yeah. So what's the big challenge for you right now with the business?
Funding, just capital. Because I'm
Working
trying to,
capital?
Yeah, because like right now I'm about to do this big conference, CoffeeCon, in October 7th and 8th, and that's where they invited the 50 roasters from the Midwest, like the most popular, and I'm trying to bring out the good stuff, showcase the best. So it's gonna take a little capital to buy those really good coffees that I really want to start offering, but everything with baby steps. So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's any company. You just need capital to grow.
Yeah. You've been working with Alberto.
Yeah, a little bit. Whenever you ask for it.
We're trying to make some good interest. Well, the Hilton one will be a good opportunity. We can get that cracked. So cool. All right, Alberto, good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
My confession is I'm not drinking your coffee right now, but I do love your coffee.
I'm not drinking my coffee either.
You're not? It's because you're not in the Keurig. We got to get you in the K-Cup.
There you go.
All right. So JJ, give us the update. So we've done a number of things together. Obviously, you're leading Team RWB, major membership organization. I'm curious to know I want to ask you two questions. I mean, one is just sort of like generally, how's it going? But then the other is I'm interested in what you have to offer a lot of veterans that are thinking of starting their own nonprofit. You've been in the what's the expression? Bird seat? I think it's
Driver's seat?
The driver's seat? I think it's like bird's eye seat is the Navy expression.
Bird's eye view? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. But you've got a unique perspective on running really one of the most successful post 9/11 veteran kind of nonprofit organizations. And so I want to get your perspective on, what you think of somebody that wants to start their own nonprofit and advice you might offer.
Yeah, for sure. So can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. The audio's a little slow.
So I guess the first thing I'd say is that things are going super well here. I mean, we're on year 5 of Team RWB, and it's just been massive growth, and it's been awesome. So we're really focused on right now outcomes, and we really want to be able to quantify our impact and know how well we're doing. So we're heavily invested in research and really trying to quantify the outcomes that we're trying to generate with our organization. So that's something that sounds simple, that's really, really hard, and we've been working on it for a better part of half a decade now, and we're getting really, really close. We've gotten linked up with a great academic partner in Syracuse University, and so that's super exciting. We can talk about some of that later. Yeah, so the question about you're a veteran, you get out of the military, and you either want to keep serving, or you've got some great idea for a nonprofit. What is my advice? And I guess what I would say is, I would just really ask myself the question, do I need to start a nonprofit? Should I be starting a nonprofit? And I think it's, Jim Collins always says you have to kind of confront the brutal facts. And I would say, whatever it is that I want to do, does this add some unique value to the market that doesn't exist? And if it doesn't, then it probably is not worth the effort to start your own nonprofit, honestly. And what I would say is take that, whatever you want to do, that service, and find an existing one of the 50,000 other nonprofits that already exist, and try to find one that's a really good fit for you and work with them. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean the last thing I want to do is to be like the blanket here, but I mean I just think that maybe that if someone wants to serve, maybe a better way is to not have to deal with all the mess that goes with starting up a nonprofit and getting a 501c3 determination from the IRS and all of that stuff, 990s and audits, and just go work with an existing nonprofit that had the infrastructure to do all that stuff for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think we have that conversation a lot where Well, you have this conversation a lot.
Oh yeah.
Where people come in and they're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, that's like saying, like, why do you want to join the military? Because I want to be a veteran. It's like, well, that's a label that doesn't really actually mean anything. What's been your experience with people? How many people do you, since you're dealing most directly with entrepreneurs and veterans that are coming in, how many of them are wanting to start a nonprofit?
I think we've probably had one or two in every single class that we started that have toyed around with the idea. The challenge that we oftentimes tell people to go out and do is see if there's the same thing that JJ was just mentioning, but also to explore what's a for-profit model look like. So instead of just assuming that the only way to take this business out of the world is through a nonprofit means, maybe explore what it looks like through a for-profit perspective. And you could still have some sort of social good with that. You don't have to be a nonprofit in order to make that happen. So we oftentimes challenge people to explore that. And then the flip side of it is that a lot of people feel like they've got to go through all the paperwork nonsense. I just need to file my 501c3 status and then I'll be able to offer good programs and service. No. If you want to give back and you want to go out and actually help people and make your idea become a reality, you don't have to go file all that paperwork to make it happen. If you think you want to do that stuff, go do it. Nothing's stopping you. If you want to go, I don't know, you always have the brownie analogy. Like if you want to go sell brownies as a nonprofit, just go actually out and start seeing anybody out there wants brownies before you start having to deal with all the paperwork nonsense. So that's one of the things I definitely challenge people to do is just go test your idea, test and validate certain assumptions before going through all the paperwork nonsense of making that idea become an actual nonprofit. It's probably not as necessary as you might think.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think a lot of people think that like, I want to have impact, that's why I want to start a nonprofit. And the reality is, you can have tons of impact, arguably more impact as a for-profit, as a not-for-profit. It's just your customer gives you the money, and a non-for-profit, somebody else gives you the money, right? But non-profits are actually complicated because it's this like three-sided marketplace. And I don't know, JJ. I mean, you've.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost sometimes. People say nonprofit and they go into it, and I feel like somehow that lets them. They feel like they can be a little sloppy on their business plan because it's going to be. They think people are just going to hand them money to go out and do good work, and I think arguably it's almost more important to run a really tight business on the. It's not more important. I don't want to say that, but it's equally important to run a really tight business on the nonprofit side, precisely because. You're not manufacturing anything. You can't look to the most challenging thing that I do is cash flow, is managing cash flow, right? And it's because I can't look to widgets. I have no idea, and so like any business, you really have to have a really tight business plan in terms of like how you want to grow, make capital investments, when you want to hire employees, all those types of things. And I think sometimes people think, I'm just going to start a nonprofit. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And that's not the case at all.
I think it's something that a lot of people miss too. Whenever they're even toying around with the ideas, I've noticed is that they don't quite understand that they actually have two customers now. So if you want to go provide a service, you're going to provide a service, you have one set of customers. When you start a nonprofit, you still have to provide that service, and now you also have this other customer who's your sponsor or your donor who you have to satisfy whatever metrics reporting, you have to satisfy whatever needs that they may have in order to fulfill the sponsor requirements. So it's oftentimes overlooked, and then when they actually experience how difficult it can be to go find that sponsor, or donor or whatever, and how to tell that story in a way that's impactful and measurable as well. It's a very difficult thing to do, and oftentimes overlooked. Do you have any challenges with that, JJ, as well?
Oh yeah, I mean,
so it's not just the small businesses. I mean, it's even the bigger ones.
Yeah, and as you grow as a nonprofit, especially with us, you start to work with larger organizations, and they start to have larger kind of demands isn't the right word, but larger expectations when they start writing bigger checks. And I probably spend as much time making sure that we run really good, impactful, meaningful programs. I probably spend half my time doing that. I probably spend half my time on the revenue side of the business making sure that we have a really solid pipeline and that our donors, partners that we work with are all really satisfied with the work that we're doing. Because like any business, we got to bring money in to be able to spend it, right? And you can't have one without the other. And that's a real I'm made huge occasions to be able.
I know what he was about to say.
On more than a few occasions.
It's a real challenge.
Yeah.
JJ, you were breaking up a little bit, but I think we got it. We got the gist of the comments.
There's also, speaking of comments, we also got a great comment from Georgina Beal, I believe, saying, before starting your own nonprofit, find out how many other orgs are already doing what you want to do.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think that's something that Justin encourages in all of our Launch Lab programs, and
Do your research,
making sure you're doing a competitive landscape analysis.
Yes.
And there's
Going back
probably
to-
somebody out there, like you mentioned, like JJ said, there's probably somebody out there doing it way better than you already. So explore that option.
Well, it's sort of a spoiler question with an entrepreneur or with somebody that wants to start a nonprofit. If you say like, well, what's your competition? And if they say no, it means one of two things. They either haven't done their homework, because of course there's competition, and you want there to be competition. Or if there's no competition, it's because it's an idea that nobody wants.
Yep.
So, who's your competition?
Everyone. that sells
Everyone
coffee.
that sells coffee. Yeah, there's a lot of I'm sure there's some local boutique brands. You've got some large national brands.
McDonald's. I mean, anyone that sells coffee is your competitor.
Yeah. And what's your competitive advantage? Why do you win vis-a-vis your competition?
Quality. I mean, that's my focus, quality. So
I think of another element just to offer this, which is the brand story that you can tell. Like, tell me what 606 means.
Well, 606 is the zip code of the city, so anyone that lives within the city, I'm assuming, has a 606 zip code. There might be some new zip codes that have been added due to like O'Hare expansion, but that's why I chose the name, because it's more local, like more homey,
And you're a Chicagoan,
Born
and
here.
what's that?
Born here,
Yeah, born here.
native.
You're native, and this is the thing that John Gray, who we met through Blackstone, who was so excited about your business because it's so local. So the story is local, the brand is local, what you've done is local. So you want to be in a crowded place because it means people are buying coffee, right? And so you've got a very differentiated story that for some coffee shops or some hotels, they're going to want the most local thing because that's like a movement, right? So yeah, I think that's great. So good, you've got competition. That means that people want it, and you just got to carve out your niche, which is like not a bad thing.
Actually, to build on your point about you want there to be competition, there's actually a really good book that is specifically about that. It's called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's all about, if you picture sharks in the water, where there's red ocean, that means that there's something they're good to eat. You kind of want to find a little bit more of the blue ocean. And it's about striking the balance between the two. So maybe that's my hack for this week.
Totally. And I don't, JJ, I don't know how you think about it, but like I don't think that there is, I don't like the word competition when it comes to nonprofits. I think it's like sort of the wrong framework. But I absolutely do think that you have to have a strategy, even a competitive strategy, which is to say, like, what's your strategy in the landscape, right? Like, and I know that, Team RWB works and Bunker Labs works because, like, you've got a identified mission and a strategy on how to achieve that mission that, is distinctive, right, in the realm. How do you think about competition or landscape analysis?
Yeah, I mean, so we think about this a little bit differently. You guys might have heard the phrase, like, we try to come from a place of having an abundance mindset in that there's enough for everybody, right? Like, when we're talking to donors and partners, like, it doesn't have to be, it's not binary. It's not we win and someone else loses. Like, there's enough for everybody, and we try to work together. And I think that's a really important thing. So we run our business in a really transparent way. Like, any of our materials, like, we'll offer them up. We want everyone to be successful, because at the end of the day, if there's more organizations that are helping veterans, that's good. But that doesn't, again, to kind of my previous point, that doesn't mean that you can run a sloppy business or not have a mission statement that's on point, or what I see in the nonprofit world is scope creep, where people chase grants. You have to be really tight and disciplined in running your business, and I think that's a really important part too. So really asking yourself the hard questions, like, is what I'm doing needed in the space? Is what I'm doing, does it work? Right? Does it make veterans' lives better in our space? And if it doesn't work, then do we need to change it? And then once you find you have something that works, then stay with it. Like, just because someone waves some money in front of your face, you don't. For us, we're not going to get into jobs, or we're not going to get into education or any of those other things, because that's not what we do, and it's not what we're good at.
Yeah, that's great. And I think competition. The flip side of that is just knowing what you're good at vis-a-vis other organizations. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? If you try to launch a coffee brand to compete with Starbucks, that's challenging, right? Because how's it going to be better and bigger than what Starbucks is already doing? But being 606 Roasters, being local, being the most local option is in fact like a great strategy, which is like sort of you staying focused. So I think you're going to do well. I think Team RWB's done fantastic. And the last thing we want to do is sort of like get from everybody is your hacks. So this is where we ask people about things that you're using, doing, reading that might be of help to somebody that's thinking of starting a business or is thinking maybe of starting a nonprofit, and offer some wisdom. So Christine, can I start with you?
Sure. So there's the Blue Ocean Strategy book, which came up organically during the discussion. The other thing that I wanted to offer up from a marketing perspective, because that's my jam, is a site called canva.com. It is extremely helpful when you are trying to put together quick social media graphics for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They've even gotten into website layouts and other types of formats, pamphlets, brochures, etc. So it can extend into print as well. Really simple tool. Graphic design is not your jam, and it's not everyone's. So it's also, I just found out last week that it also has a team feature, so you can create templates, and I'm actually really excited to start rolling that out to our chapters.
Cool.
As well.
How do you spell Canva?
Canva. It's like canvas without the S.
Without the S. .com.
.com.
Okay. Awesome. Alberto, give us a hack.
If you don't have any entrepreneurship background, I would get involved with like Bunker Labs. There's another program called EBV, or get a mentor, someone to pick someone's brain, read books. I mean, because you never stop learning. I mean, I've been doing a little bit of everything. I get a little bit from everyone, but because someone might not teach it the same way, or you might not grasp it the same way. So it's always good to keep on trying, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I went back to school.
Yeah.
Because I never knew anything about business, so I wanted to learn how to market my business in order to sell it, because I really just dove into it. And honestly, I think that's what's like stopped my growth, because I don't have that experience. So it's all been by trial and error, and trial and error can be expensive.
Yeah. Trial and
so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and painful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
time consuming.
But
Yes.
here I'm actually gonna push back and jump you and give you my hack, which is I actually think what you're doing is the better approach, which is to say I would much rather see somebody that starts roasting and making good coffee than somebody that's walking around with a business plan about how to make and roast coffee and then try to sell it, because I think you're more rare in terms of actually just getting after it and actually starting to roast coffee. And I think it's a better problem to have by starting by creating a product, knowing that people like it, and then filling in the knowledge gaps, which is what do I not know, than it is to, I think, be stuck in sort of like idea phase of this is what I'm going to go do at some point. I think we're usually giving more advice to say, hey, here's a PowerPoint. I want to go build a business that helps people learn math sooner. And then you ask the question, well, when's the last time you helped somebody learn math? And it's like, well, never. You've got a better problem. Let me just put it that way. And I think that what you've done is commendable, which is get out and start roasting coffee. You've got to start with that, because unless you know that somebody can roast good coffee, why are we even talking about your coffee business? Does that make sense? Okay. So I think I know you always feel like you're swimming upstream, but I would say that you've done a lot. You've done more things right than wrong by actually getting this going. Yeah,
Totally agree. And even just to kind of morph that into my hack here is again, going out and doing it. It's something that is oftentimes it's just scary, to get out there and go do something. So one of the things that we teach here in the program, actually it's this week, is around partnerships. And what that can help you do is actually eliminate some of that fear. And basically what I mean is most people have developed some sort of mind map at some point in time in their either high school or college career, which is basically just a circle that bridges out to a bunch of other circles that has a bunch of other pieces of information underneath it. But basically what we're going to be doing tomorrow night in Launch Lab is is doing not necessarily a mind map, but actually kind of a support map. And what that can help you do is just say you're in the middle, you are your business, and then we'll bridge that out into sales, strategy, marketing, finance, funding, tech. And what you can do in each one of those, and you can rewind this to go figure those out again, but underneath each one of those, build a list of 2 to 3 people under each one of those areas that can provide feedback on your assumptions, or people that you can go pressure test certain assumptions. So in your sales, you can go push your sales strategy with one of your mentors, ask them for feedback. Go do the same thing in marketing, finance, funding, et cetera, and just get feedback and constantly go out and do that and build that business and make it become a reality, just like Alberto did.
Bertito Beverage, founder of Tito's,
Vodka.
was hand making vodka for years before. And that's all he focused on doing. I mean, that's what he knew how to do, is make good vodka. And then the business sort of came together later with fantastic branding and a community commitment and all that stuff. And now it's, I mean, an amazing award-winning brand that's grown faster than any. It's totally disrupted the whole category. So we ought to get you in touch with Tito, because he would actually probably love to mentor you and offer you some advice on what he did as well.
Appreciate it.
But I think you're doing the right things. All right. And JJ, what's your hack or advice to entrepreneurs or those that might want to be entrepreneurs that are listening?
Yeah, so kind of 2 things. The first thing, I guess I'll just agree with Alberto, like read. I mean, I'm an incessant reader, and virtually everybody I talk to that is in this space reads, and I love to read things that are not related to what I'm currently doing. So like, I'm not reading books about nonprofit management right now. Like, I'm reading behavioral economics, and I'm reading Stoic philosophy and like all of these other things, because I find that there's really cool parallels that you can find with some of these other seemingly unrelated things. And then like a super tactical thing, I use this email management technique called the Yester box, and
Talked about that last time.
And it's the only way that I've found that I've been able to manage my life around email, and it allows me, there's like a finishing point every day, and once you're done with that, you're done. And then you can spend the rest of your day on leading a business and running it, and not just on the email hamster wheel, which is, I used to do that, and I see so many people that confuse kind of busy for effective, and they just are answering emails, and you can't see the forest because of the trees, and that is the way that I've found to manage email. It's the only thing that works for me, and so that's my hack. I got that from the founder of Zappos on some video at some point in the past.
And what was it called again?
Yesterbox. And somebody,
the Yester box.
The Yester box.
Got it.
Yeah, and Tony C, right, is the founder of Zappos, and somebody recommended this on the breakdown like 2 weeks ago. Yester box, because I checked it out after the breakdown. So you're the second person to suggest that. And then I love reading. That comes up a lot as well. I just finished The War Lovers, about the rush to war. Fascinating. The more you understand our history, the more you understand how our times aren't as unique as I think we maybe think they are. I don't know if that's good or bad. But good tips. And the email hamster wheel. Are you on the email hamster wheel? I am. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you and I for sure are. Are you?
Yeah.
I'm about to be. I waste a lot of time on.
You're pretty good at it.
I'm much better than I used to be, that's for sure.
My inbox gives Devin heart palpitations every time she sees 463.
Yeah.
Is a number that's unread, but I'm like, they're all labeled. I know what those are.
Yeah, I think it's why it comes up all the
Just have to
time.
get through them.
I think it's why it comes up all the time in the breakdown. All right, well, this has been fantastic. JJ from Team RWB, thanks so much for all that you do for the veteran community, and we just love having you as part of our organization and being partners. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, people might not know this, but we're joined at the hip with Bunker Labs, so we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys. So huge thanks, and I'm glad. I wish I could be there with you, drinking some 606 coffee, but
And Alberto, thank you for being on the show as well.
Thank you,
and for all that you're doing. And how do people buy the coffee if they want to get the coffee?
As of today, you can buy the Chicago Veterans brand on our Facebook page. The only reason we don't have the rest of our coffees, we're still in the logo design. So I don't want to get people used to one logo and then switch it on them. So we just decided to launch their brand, but it has all our information in the back, address.
Awesome. So maybe we can link to that we'll put that on the Facebook page for us as well. And then, awesome.
There it is right there.
So thank you guys.
Great.
Cool.
And we will see you next week on The Breakdown.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.